I'm going to share a couple more. In the last video, part 1 of the May ones, I shared something about preparing. So I'm going to share one more about what my brother posted. So obviously we can work with God and figure out what we can do, but then there will come a time where God will actually have to do miracles, and we'll see him provide for us as well. So that could go with this dream that my brother had. So my first video, previous video about storing up things, which is a wise thing to do. Then my brother also said this. Some people say that you need to stock up on food, water, and other survival items in preparation for the time coming. So this is like on a longer time frame, not just whatever I was shown. So maybe mine was just for a time, but then his is kind of leading on further than that. Saying that you will have to prepare things for the time coming. And he says, let me tell you that those who do that in their own efforts and trust in themselves to preserve their life will have nothing of what they stored up for themselves. Even their food will grow maggots and their water will be polluted. This will happen to everyone who trusts in their own efforts to save themselves, not out of faith in God. And it will happen so that God will prove that only he is able to preserve you, and you do not have to work in this way to save yourself from what we are entering into. It will happen this way because God wants you to know by experience that he will support you far better than you can support yourself without him. Anyone who trusts in the work of their own hands will watch it disappear and come to nothing, so that they can be taught to place their trust and their lives in the hands of God rather than in their own hands. There is a time that is coming that is not like the times that we have been in before. It is very different. So there's that he's led to share. And I also want to share a dream my other brother had, and it was to do with the virus, which is a very interesting one. I'll just read it to you. So this is about coronavirus and what was going on behind what we can see. So we can see what people portray on the news, but then this is what God sees from his perspective. So I'll read it. And then, by the way, this was back probably in the start of April. There was a lot of debating that was happening in different places in this dream regarding the legitimacy of the virus and the response to it. I recall that I made a number of points trying to speak truth to people, but there were many people trying to legitimize the response that we are seeing by the government implementing. I ended up in this room. There were quite a few other people, including my dad and my boss. And then there was this man. He was sort of tall, nicely dressed, well-spoken, and he got everyone's attention and was in front of everyone on some kind of stage. He had people's attention, and then he stepped out into the spotlight, and just as I had said, there can be any given number of viruses in the human body at one time. That's what my brother said. This man steps out, sort of in response, like giving his 2 cents. And he said, with a strange undertone, like there appeared to be something else underneath what he was saying. And he said, "Forgive me for my servitude, but I am just now wanting to appear as a light before the end of the tunnel." And as soon as he said this, another man went around behind him and held something in his hand and pressed it up into the ribs of a man, and he bent forward as if he was about to kill him. And he made this terrible looking expression on his face. But then I was surprised because I saw what was actually being pressed up into him was the curved end of a shepherd's staff. And then he woke up at that point. And yeah, so just to recap, that was showing him that there's actually an agenda behind what's going on that we can see with the virus. That it's not just a virus. It's not just a virus that's normal, like a one that's just appeared. It's something that has been brought out to control and to set the stage for this man who was in his dream as the leader that the people were looking to, who's going to be the Antichrist and the system that he's going to bring in. So he's using this scenario. He's going to continue to use it to unfold his plan of appearing as a light to the world. So he's making a problem, creating a solution, and then delivering it to people so that they will follow him. So that's what God showed him, because he was asking about it. He asked God to show him what's going on with the virus, and that's what he showed him. So there you go. It's not just what we think is just some other virus. This is attached to other agendas and control. So if you didn't think that was true, or if that was something that the media don't like to talk about, or some might call it a conspiracy, it's being shown by God. So it's are you going to believe what God's saying, or are you going to believe what the TV is telling you? Because we're living in a world under a system that isn't God's kingdom at the moment. So if you were to believe everything that was fed to you, then it would be very foolish to do that. We don't operate under the things of the world. We operate under God's kingdom. And so when God reveals things, it's important. Otherwise, we'll sort of get taken off with the rest of everyone else who are not awake and who don't know God, and God hasn't shown them these things. So this video is getting a little bit long, so I'm just going to end it, and then I'm going to share one more.